There we go. Yes, it worked. Hello, everyone.
Well
done. Super excited that we are here live on our Healy Hangout. We've got a new series that we've started this evening, and I'm so excited. It's full moon tonight, so, you know, just by chance that this has suddenly arose, this idea of doing a series, which is about sound and frequency. And what we're going to be doing for the next 6 weeks is we're going to be meeting with some amazing sound and frequency practitioners or experts to talk about how sound and frequency is used, for how they use that, also for healing or for balancing, which is super exciting because some of them have Healys as well. So we can kind of talk about, well, we will be talking about the combination between Healy and also sound. So I'm just absolutely so excited because the next 6 weeks is packed with some great people. So yeah, so I'm going to just check on Facebook before we get started and before I introduce the first guest, to see who's there, just to make sure that it's all going good on the group. Let's just go in and see. And please feel free just to type in the comments where you're tuning in from. If you've got any questions today at all, and yeah, please let us know if you've got anything that you'd like to ask. So I would like to introduce Christina Macdonald here this evening, a lady who I've met through this group, actually, Healy Avalon. She's a regular member of our Healy Hangouts, so I've known her through this, but also she's a fellow crystal lover and just a great human being who works with sound and frequency. So welcome, Christina. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much for the invitation, Abbey. It's always lovely when you've got a passion about something to be able to share it with people.
Definitely. And it's just really exciting, really, because we only met face to face last Friday.
Yeah.
Christina is amazing. She asked me if I would like to go for lunch because of all the work I do on the group. And I was just like, it was amazing. I've never, it was just such a great, what's the word? I can't think of the word because I'm just like, I'm so get a bit shy. But she just came to offer me lunch anyway, as a gesture. Let's say it's a gesture. For just, you know, for the energy I create here, and yeah, I'm just really super grateful for that. And we had such a great chat, and it was really nice. And she told me about all the things that she's been doing as well. So do you want to just like let the group know what you do and how you got into the work that you're doing?
Oh, absolutely, I'd love to. I guess I'm, like Abbey says, I'm a big crystal girl anyway, and crystals is actually, which is the one thing that actually brought me into using energy at all. Because until you know that there's energy around, and I knew nothing before I started to collect crystals, you don't really understand what it's all about. And so in 2013, I'd gone to a crystal fair, and then I noticed that the next week there was another psychic fair on, not crystals, but just with readers and all sorts of other stuff, you know, mediums there. And so I decided on a Sunday afternoon to go down and have a look. And there was this lady there. She had a very tiny stall, and she was selling these things that were tuning forks. And I had no idea what they were. I'd never ever seen them before. Didn't know what they did or anything like that, but she was doing a demonstration later in the day. So I was with a friend and we just hung around, and we went into her demonstration. It was only for an hour, but the sound that came from the tuning forks absolutely blew us away. And my friend had a pain in her shoulder, and one of the girls who was with Debbie demonstrating came and put the tuning fork, held it over her shoulder, and when we left, the girl had no pain in her shoulder at all. And so I thought, well, you know what, I'm just going to try these. And I bought a couple of tuning forks and took them home. And I thought, well, you know, it's not a lot of money. If I don't use them, you know what it's like. Sometimes you buy things on the spur of the moment. If I don't use them, it's not a lot of money to lose. I'll just try them out and see what happens. And that's what I did. And I didn't use them for the first month or so, but I did start to use them after that. And I used them every day. Did a self-healing. I had a little booklet that showed me what to do, and I did them every day. And I was so blown away by how it made me feel, how I was so at peace, you know. And it was like about an hour every morning. I would put that hour away aside for me, and I used to do it before I went into work. And it just was so amazing, the peace that I felt by doing that. And I suffer with arthritis, and it just kind of completely disappeared. Didn't have any pain, didn't have any inflammation, no swelling. And I just thought, you know what, there is really something in this. I need to take it further. And I went and did a 5-day course with a lady down in Cornwall, and it was absolutely brilliant. You know how things changed completely. You know, the frequencies, my own light body completely changed.
Amazing.
And then I had to do all those case studies and everything to get qualified. But I qualified in 2014 and kind of haven't really looked back since then.
Amazing. So frequency is your purpose.
I think it is. I think it really is my purpose. I believe also that it's something that I've done in a past life. From there, of course, I mean, there's a lot more involved with the tuning forks, and I'll tell you about that as we go along. But from there, after I'd done the training, I was invited to go to a gong mela where they were teaching gong, and it was only for a few days. And again, I got really pulled into playing the gong. It's so powerful and so amazing, you know, that all that sound and the frequency has really taken over, and it's taken me quite many places.
Amazing. So when you work with the tuning forks, can you like give us a little bit more information on how you would work with them? Because I don't know about anyone else here, but I've seen tuning forks, and I've actually done a sound healing course, like level 1, and I learned a little bit about the tuning forks. But to work with them specifically, there is a lot to understand about each one and about each frequency.
Oh yeah.
How do you work with them?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of this, you know, it's not like you're using a musical instrument where you've got notes and things to follow. You don't. It is all very, very much intuitive, and you really do connect with your spirit guides for sure. The basic ones I use are the which is at a frequency of 136.10. And then I use a weight, that's an unweighted fork. In fact, I've got one here. Okay, that's an unweighted fork. And that's a 13610. And that's the sound of creation. So I always use that to start with. And then there's the same frequency, the 13610, the but it's weighted. So you can see that 2 weights on the top there. And I've got a crystal on the bottom of mine, but not all of them do have. And with that fork, you actually place it on the body, whereas the unweighted, you work within the auric field.
Wow.
And then the other one I use is a smaller one, and that is the 528, the 528 hertz, which is what they call the miracle fork. It's DNA transformation, and it is absolutely amazing for healing wounds and anything like that. Absolutely fantastic. So those were the 3 basic forks that I started off with, I mean, you're right, Abby. There are loads and loads of forks out there, all with different frequencies, because of course, every organ and everything in our body has got its own frequency. You know, you can get one for the pineal gland, you can get one for the adrenal glands, you can get them for bones, for circulation, for oxygen in the blood. I mean, it's endless, the frequencies that there are out there, for sure.
And you can also, I mean, we know that from the Healy, don't we?
Yeah.
The thousands and thousands of frequencies that we have on our Healy devices. And it's just interesting that, how do you find the physical aspect of working with the tuning forks different to the Healy?
It's much more involved, you know. With the Healy, it's something that you put on the person, and you're not really intuiting it to a degree that you are with the tuning forks. With the tuning forks, when I do a session with somebody, I never know at the start what I'm going to be using, ever. I know I have my basic 3, which is called a clear, cleanse, balance, right? So you're clearing and cleansing the energies, removing any stuck energy from various parts of the bodies, working basically on the chakras and any other parts of the body that anyone's feeling any pain. Those are the 3 that I always have out, although I do have lots of others there. But what I find is, once I actually start to work, and bearing in mind that you've connected in with your spirit guides anyway, okay, always, they will then tell me what I need as I'm working, which is really interesting. I mean, I've always worked like that with my guides anyway, and they'll either show it to me in the form of a number, or they'll tell me, I'll hear it. You know, there's always ways that they will tell me what I need to be working with. So once I never know, you know, because, and I like that, because what happens is I'm not going in with my own mind.
Right.
I'm giving the person what they need, and I don't need to know what they need. My guides will tell me.
Amazing.
So yeah, it is. I mean, I think that's what I really enjoy about it. It's like, and I do that session, and I thoroughly enjoy that session. And the session, there's no set time. It just goes according to what's needed, because depending on what chakras are unbalanced and need removing of energy, you don't know that until you start working. So it's great. And of course, obviously, with all kind of healing, you get out of it as much as you put in as well. So it's really lovely, really lovely.
Fantastic. And you're doing these amazing sound healings, aren't you, as well? You do, sometimes you're offering a space where you're offering this line as well. Does that work well online?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, no, it works really well. In fact, I was up in Scotland a couple of weeks ago visiting my ex-husband's cousin. Well, she's my cousin too, really. I've known her a very long time. And she's 87, so she's not in the best of health at the moment. And I've been giving her tuning fork treatments, just so that's to relax her and to really feel, because you don't always feel with the Healy, do you? You know what I mean? You don't always feel the frequencies, but with this, you can't help but feel them. And her carer that was there was really interesting. Her carer that was there asked me if she could sit in and watch. And I said, yeah, of course you can, not a problem at all. I mean, she is an aromatherapist anyway, and she does massage, so she's kind of on the same page as us. And she sat in the room at the end of the bed, was watching, and she was completely gone in trance. It was incredible. The energy was so powerful that anybody in the room can also benefit from the healing.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah. So I did a whole treatment with my cousin, and yeah, it just puts her in a different place, you know, her mindset changes so that you can see things in a different way, in a different light. And if you have decisions that you have to make, then you can make them from a different place and hopefully make the right decisions rather than reacting to a situation.
Amazing. Would you be up for like just doing one of the frequency, the forks now, just so we can hear what it sounds like
Yeah, of
through
course.
the computer?
Absolutely.
I would love to just hear what it sounds. Interesting. You can't really hear it, can you, online?
Can you not?
But you can feel it if you close your eyes.
Yeah, it is quite a subtle. It's not like playing the gong. It is quite subtle. I don't know where my
Yes, it would be good with the microphone. It's interesting because there's a guy that's making his own tuning forks that actually I met some years ago actually. I completely forgot about him until my friend reminded me about him just today. And he's got this whole database of sounds that he's recorded, and you can actually record you can actually hear and all the different listen to all the different sound of the frequencies, but you can't actually hear it, but the frequencies being played. So it's quite interesting as well, because also if you close your eyes with that, you can really feel that as well. So it's interesting to if it's distorted through the computer as well, because we don't know, do we?
No, and I know for a fact Zoom, the bandwidth on Zoom is not good for sound, which is why I never do a Zoom session. If I'm doing gong bath, I'll always do it as a live on Facebook because the sound is so much better. But
Right.
they just can't get it right. I'm sure there is a way of being able to alter things, but I'm not very techy when it comes to the computer. So
Yeah.
I tend not to do that, which is a shame because I'd love to do it on Zoom. You know, it's always nice to see people when you're actually doing things. Let me try the 528 for you because it's quite a higher pitch and see if you get to hear this.
Yes, we hear this one.
Can you hear that one?
Yeah, I heard that one. Yeah. Mm. And you can really hear it continuing as well if you really tune
It
into.
does.
Yeah.
These particular forks that I use, I bought them in America. I have a lovely lady out there, and I used to go out to Florida quite a lot. So I bought them out there, and they do last a lot longer than some of the Indian ones. I mean, some of the Indian ones are great, but I'm lucky with mine because they do last generally about 24 seconds, which the others generally last about 19, 20 at the most.
Right. Interesting.
So yeah, those are quite good, really. But
Great.
no, they do work a treat, and they do they work on the body. They help physical pain for sure. I
Great.
had when I was doing my training, the first person I had as my guinea pig, as it were, she was my case study. She she was in a road traffic accident, and she was walking across the road and got hit by a car on a busy road, and she was airlifted to a hospital in London, and she was really quite poorly, and she had a metal plate in her shoulder, and the doctors seemed to think that she would never gain full capacity of her arm again. And so that, of course, is a real challenge to me, isn't it? You know, and I said to her, well, would you like me to work? Would you like to be a case study for me? And she said, yeah, absolutely. And so I started to work on her. I was supposed to give her 3 sessions as my case study, but actually I ended up doing a few more than that, but not a huge amount more. And the first one I just did a basic cleansing with her, because you've got to understand that when the body doesn't, when the body isn't used to those frequencies, you've really got to take it a little bit gently. Just like the Healy, really, you know, you can't kind of go in at full pelt. So I just did a normal session with her on the first week that I saw her. And it actually made a difference for her to be able to do her physical exercises that she'd been given by the hospital. And the next week I went in, I did a much bigger session with her. I did the whole solfeggio set, like the solfeggio set. It's the frequencies of solfeggio, and it goes right the way up the scale, and it covers all the chakras as well. And I did the whole session with her, and the following week, I spoke to her midweek, and she was able to actually move her arms much more than she could before. And I carried on doing this for about 6 weeks I did with her. And by the time I'd done the 6 weeks, she was actually able to go back to work because she had more use of her arm and her shoulder. It was quite amazing. I don't know what happened to her in the end, unfortunately, because she moved away. But I know she was doing a lot more than the hospital ever said she'd be able to. But the fact that the tuning forks took away the pain that she was feeling, which enabled her to do her physiotherapy exercises. And of course, that combined helped her to heal. So it is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's very powerful. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of us understand that from all of these great testimonials from using the Healy. And I think only now everyone's just starting to realize and educate themselves about this, that there are many, many different ways that you can heal. And especially with, you know, these using tuning forks or the Healy or just working with different frequencies.
Yeah.
Someone in the Facebook chat has just asked, is there any great books that are out there that we can,
Oh yeah,
learn?
there's quite a few. I mean, most certainly, I'll be happy to look them out for you and put them in the link. Absolutely.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, and there are different ways of using tuning forks too. You know, there's not just one way of doing it. I must admit, I found myself that I did my basic training, but the way I use my tuning forks now is not the same as it was when I trained. It's different. So it's kind of thing that you make your own. You just go with your intuition and what you feel, and that's always right.
Great. So you kind of found
Yeah,
found
absolutely.
your
I'll
way. Yeah.
certainly look out some books for you, and I'll pop the links in the chat. No problem.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. That's great. So you've also got you also work with other modalities as well. You were saying that you've done some Reiki and you do some channeling, some light language as well. Can you give us a little information about that?
Oh, that's really interesting. In my journey with the gong, that's been really interesting. Like I said, I went to the gong miller and I saw the gongs and fell in love with those. And then I did. I was trying to get on a course, and it didn't. The timings weren't very good at that time because I was doing a shamanic course with Peruvian shamans. And so I let that, I did the shaman course, and then the timing was right for me to do the gong course. And I'd already bought gongs, but was only playing them at home for myself. I'd bought my symphonic gong, which is an all-round gong, just a 30-inch. And then I'd bought the Saturn gong, which is my planet, which I absolutely love. That was my second gong that I bought. And how all of that came about, how the work with the gongs came about was, I think it was just the sound and drumming as well. Even with the drum, you know, it draws you in, doesn't it? You know, the sound of that, you know, that connection for Mother Earth, it kind of draws you in. It's all right, I'm a bit all over the place here. I was talking about the gongs, wasn't I? But interestingly, the gongs at the moment are probably the biggest part of my life. I do the tuning forks as well, but I play the gongs much more than I use the tuning forks. I do use them on myself, obviously, but with the gongs, I don't know, they seem to have something very different. It's not like you're picking out a frequency with those. They do have their own frequency, but with the gong, they go to where they need to go no matter what you're using, you know. So I've got a Mercury gong, and I've got a Neptune, and I've got a Jupiter, and I've got Saturn, and I've got a new moon gong. So whichever one that you're using, when you set your intention, it will always go to where it needs to go. And that's pretty amazing. But I've had quite a journey with those over the last few years. I was really fortunate enough to connect with a lady in America, and I've been playing in her workshops, one in Las Vegas and one in Kansas, and I also did some work with her in Thailand as well. So, you know, they've really taken me on quite a journey over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, such a great story, because I heard all the background information behind that story of perfect synchronicity.
Oh, unbelievable.
Which is
Unbelievable.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like how we connected, really. You know, it's all synchronistic, you know, everything. And I think it's important just to say, you know, if something comes up for you that feels right, do jump into it, because you just never know where it's going to take you. And my trips to America, in fact, I did 5 trips in 2018 across the pond, doing various different things. And that would never have happened had I not taken a leap of faith. It just wouldn't. You know, it was like a connection to a friend of a friend who told me about a certain lady in America who was doing workshops. And when I looked at this lady online on YouTube, I just knew that I needed to connect with her. Didn't know why, had no idea why. And I just connected with her and went out to a weekend workshop that she was doing. And from there, I kind of never looked back. I met up with such a beautiful bunch of people that I ended up going to Thailand with them all 4 weeks later. And that's where my sound started, with that particular tribe of people, because I was playing solfeggio pipes. I did have the tuning forks with me, but it was the pipes that actually made the difference. And I was working with the pipes. At the end of her workshop out in Thailand, I would play 15 minutes of the pipes, the solfeggio pipes, and it is amazing how much grief and loss and fear and shadow work comes up by using these instruments.
Mm.
And then when I got back from Thailand, she asked me if I'd like to join the tour, which I did. And then I played in Las Vegas at a big convention thing that we were doing there, and kind of haven't looked back from there. And we're still very, very good friends. I'm waiting at the moment for me to be able to go back out. And we've got another, I think we've got another one planned, hopefully, I think maybe in Mexico. So that might be my next trip out there when I can get out there.
Amazing. I mean, it just shows you what happens, like you said, like when you just jump for something, because
Yeah.
sometimes we don't do that, do we? We like to stay in our comfort zones. Sometimes you have to go out of your comfort zone or take a risk to really be open to the new possibilities that can come in. I mean, that happened with me with the Healy. I quit my job. I had no other income coming in, but I took that leap of faith because I just knew that I was on the right journey. And 1 week later, I've met so many people here in Glastonbury that work with frequency, and everything just clicked into place. And when you do that and you really put your trust into the universe, which can take a lot, it takes a lot of courage to do it, because you don't know where you're going to end up. And a lot of the time it can all just suddenly appear, all the things that you've been looking for and waiting for. And also just making that space as well to allow the new things to come in. Sometimes you have to let go of that as well, don't you? Which is amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, when I jumped on a plane to Miami, I had absolutely no idea what I was going to. I didn't know anybody there. I just knew that I needed to go, and I really didn't have anything to lose. I mean, I knew the States quite a lot because I'd spent some time in Florida anyway, but I had no idea what was going to happen. And it's one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life to do that. I would do it again tomorrow, given half a chance.
Brilliant. So you touched a little bit when you were telling us that story about how different emotions can come up with your sound healing. And I just wanted to touch on that really a little bit more about grief and fear, because I've had some amazing sound healings where I've laid on the floor and, I've done it. I've also had a digital sound healing baths as well.
Oh, wow.
Berlin, which had these. Actually, I think he's going to be another one of the guests on this series as well, in about 4 weeks, hopefully, fingers crossed. He created a sound bath using electronic sound, but with a whole wall of speakers, and you put your feet at the speakers and then it sends the sounds up through the body. So that was quite interesting. But, I felt a lot of emotions coming up, and I'm just wondering how that works. Have you got some insights about that at all?
Not really, in other than, with the energy, we know that disease and things, don't we, is how it's created outside of the body first before it reaches the body. And it's all stuck energy, isn't it? You know, and I think once the energy inside the body starts to break down, it breaks it up for it to come up, then that's when the cracks appear, as it were, in a simplified way. The cracks appear and it starts to come up, and it kind of releases emotions and feelings within the body, from anything of past life or past trauma, anything like that. We can have in the knees, we can have problems, can't we, where things are stuck, in the solar plexus for sure. In fact, in all our chakras, the root chakra and the base chakra goes back to the early childhood, and even things that we've brought through from a past life, they get stored in those chakras. So the more work we can do with those, the better that we are. But years ago, we didn't know anything about it, did we? We didn't realise.
Absolutely.
We know a lot more now about how we are meant to be, rather than what we've been brought up as,
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of changes that have been happening we're becoming a lot more conscious, aren't we, at the moment? A lot of us are really waking up, and also just that the frequency of the earth is rising.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people just tapping into that. And I was even just walking today, and I can really feel the difference of the frequencies that I'm at than what I was a few years ago. And I'm thinking to myself, is everybody feeling this? And also how to navigate that so that it doesn't get too intense, because I think a lot of people that haven't done the work or haven't done that self-work is probably going to struggle a lot more than if those that have. And I think that it's, but I mean, people are more sensitive than others as well. So people are feeling it stronger. And it's interesting to understand how to navigate that. And I'm just wondering, is it because so many people are really getting into this frequency thing? Because who would have known like a year ago that we would be all these people would be interested to know about this and are learning about it, and we're all doing it. So that must be making a global change to the frequency. It must be.
I think a lot of the things as well is that because we've been in lockdown, and we've not been able to travel the way we've been traveling, it's made a lot of people actually slow down. I think they've taken a lot of time, they've had time to take for themselves and maybe think about some of the things that they wouldn't normally have thought about. I mean, it's like, have we ever questioned, what are we doing here? What is the point of it all? Because I know, for one, before I gave up work and started on this journey, it isn't something that would even have entered my head to ask, what am I doing here? What is my purpose? You just kind of take everything for granted, and just, it's like it comes down from your parents, doesn't it? And you just kind of follow in their footsteps without even questioning.
Very true. Yeah.
And I think that lockdown, as much of a pain as it has been, I think it's been good in many other ways, because it's enabled us to get back to some family time, and also to slow ourselves down, to maybe take a step back from things sometimes, and examine what's actually going on.
Yeah, absolutely. It really has. I think that there's been a lot of benefits from it, and it's definitely. I always see everything as an opportunity to make changes, and everybody knows change is not easy. It never has been, it never will be. It will always be challenging. It will always, because if you don't get challenged, then how do we change? So it has to be that we have to have that interaction with that energy, whatever that is, that comes in, and then we have to work through whatever is triggered in that moment. And also, that's interesting for me is that I wonder if, like, this, how the frequency enters our body, how our body actually takes that on. And I'm very curious about that. Like, I mean, Marcus Schmeeker talks about it working directly and going straight to the cells. I mean, obviously our cells have to train a little bit, and some of the programs are good for that. So it's working directly on a cellular level. I mean, I wonder if there's some resistance there as well, or if there is that kind of challenge for the cells to kind of take on the frequency after not being used to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I don't think there's a resistance. I do. It's quite funny you should ask that, actually, because when I was doing tuning forks, like with my case studies and stuff like that, I'd get an insight as though the cells were actually elated through having the sound. It was almost like a real excitement about, I used to think they were dancing. That was my interpretation, as when I was working, the cells were actually dancing and loving the extra vibration that was going in. Interesting, isn't it? And I can't tell you why I thought that, but that's just a feeling that I got when I was working with someone.
Wow. I mean, it makes so much sense as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it's, I class it, all the cells and everything, they've got their own frequency, they've got their own language, and I'm sure they all talk to each other, and it was like a different language. They're receiving the sound, and they were talking to each other. That's how I interpret it.
Mm.
Crazy, maybe.
I mean, actually, they probably are. I mean, like just how we're talking to each other, there's always just a different communication between different modalities, isn't there?
Yes,
So I
absolutely.
guess that's exactly what was happening. And that brings me again to that question of the light language, because you said that you do light language, and I want to know more about that.
Okay. Light language is the language of the soul. It's what we come in with before we actually, speak words or anything like that. And what was interesting was when I was in Thailand and I was using the pipes, I only had 5 with me, I think. I had 5 with me at the time. And I was doing a sound session with the pipes at the end of each session that Jessica was doing. And by the end of the week, we did, I think there were 7 sessions that we did. And by the end of the week, there were a couple of people that actually started to speak light language. And it's really interesting how that came about. One of them was a guy and one of them was a girl. And it's something that you don't control. It's just something that happens, that you just feel this energy inside. And what was interesting was when I was coming back from Thailand, I was on the plane coming home, and I was so overwhelmed and sort of happy and blissful about the last 12 days that I'd spent with Jess and doing all the sound that I started to speak light language on the plane to myself. So I had to hide under the covers. Anyone would hear me because they would think I was mad. But that's how that started for me. And then when we were in, and then it was just every time I did a session, it would come up. It would just be there. You can't. It's not. You can physically stop it, but what would be the point in that? It's a gift that that's there and there for us to use, because what it does is, because it's not a language that you can consciously know, right? You can't the ego mind gets out of the way because it doesn't understand it. So if you want to say something to someone and you maybe haven't got the right words to say, you say it from a soul level, and the souls actually connect. So it's soul to soul, which is really interesting. And I know that's true because when I've used that, when I've been doing a tuning fork healing and I've used the light language has come in as well. Wow, people have been in tears because they've really felt it at a soul level. Neither of us understood what was actually being said, but it didn't matter because you feel it. So it's really amazing. It's something that I really enjoy doing because it's not like I don't have to say anything. I'm not aware. You know what it's like when you want to say something to someone and you've got to think about what you want to say and how you put it into context and make sure that, with light language, it's not like that. You just say what you need to say and it connects with that person's soul.
Beautiful. Really beautiful. And I can also feel it when you're talking about it as well. I can really connect with that.
It is. It's very, very beautiful, I have to say. It really goes in very well with the frequencies. Really nice.
Great. I just would like to ask if anyone would like to ask any questions to Christina. If anyone, I'm just opening up the floor. If anyone has something they'd like to share, or if they've got a question for her, or put it into the chat, and I'm happy to, we're happy to answer that for you. Obviously, you don't have to. Let me just have a look. So I'm just looking in the Facebook group as well. I'm just reading one from Dee. Hi Dee, hi everyone there in the Facebook Live group. Awesome that you're all here with us as well as everyone in the Zoom. It's been really nice to have everybody here again for this series of sound and frequency. I think it's super important that we kind of look at this subject of sound, which is why we've got Christina on here tonight as well. So any questions at all, feel free to put them in the chat now. And I just wanted to know if there's anything else you want to share tonight, Christina. Like, I mean, I wish I'd asked you to do a little mini sound healing. I wish that we'd had organised that actually.
We could do it another time. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
I'll do it for you anytime. It's,
yeah.
It's my joy. The only thing I say is that I don't know how good it comes through on the Zoom. But yeah, I'd be more than happy to do that. The only thing I would like to share with you is something that we discussed earlier about the Healy, actually.
Yes.
My one-to-ones and with people face-to-face is generally doing the tuning forks and the gongs. But I do use my Healy quite a lot. I use it on my dog and I use it on my family and my friends. But recently, a friend of mine whose mother was very poorly, she lost her husband Christmas time last year, and she'd gone downhill, but she was, I think, 92. So she was quite poorly, and she went into hospital for quite a long time, and they sent her out and put her into a nursing home. And then my friend got her home because she wasn't doing too well. And you could see, I didn't know the lady at all. I never met her, but she's the mother of my best friend. And so I said to her, would you like me to do some frequency work with your mum? Because it was obvious that she wasn't going to be around for too much longer, but the main criteria was to actually help her with the frequencies to try and relieve any stress or anxiety or anything that she was carrying. And she said yes, she would really like that. And so for about 6 weeks, I sent this lady frequencies with the Blue app, with the resonance. But I also did use the Pink app on her as well, even from a distance. I printed a photograph of her and put it on my altar, which I have with all my crystals. And then I would do the Pink app and put the Healy on the photograph and just let it run. And the interesting thing is that on the night that she passed away at 1:30 in the morning, at 1:27, when I was up in Scotland with my cousin, I got woken up. And I know that that was her. And so it just shows how we can connect, even if we're not in the same place. You know that anything that you're doing distantly is getting there for sure when you use it with the right intention. And that really touched me, I have to say. The fact that, I do really, really, really feel that I made a difference to that lady, even just by sending her frequencies every day. So, don't ever not think that it's not working, because it absolutely does.
Absolutely amazing that you did that. And what a story. That, I mean, it was definitely a message of the spirit coming to say thank you, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah. I felt that, I have to say. And I was away, I was sleeping really well. There was no reason for me to wake up, but something woke me up and made me look at my phone, which is something I never ever do. And it was 1:27.
Wow.
So for me, that's good proof.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. I love that. And it is true. It is difficult sometimes to get your head around it with the Blue app, that it works distantly. I mean, because we're also used to things being so physical. Yep. And so, we have to see it to believe it. But this is something that you can't see. And you know, you have to trust in it. You really have to trust in it to see that it.
You have to trust in it, but you also have to have that intention, you know,
Mm,
to be working for the greater good. And,
yeah.
you know, I knew that the frequencies were never, ever going to heal this lady. It just wasn't on the cards. But my intention was for her to have the smoothest, peaceful transition that was going to be possible, and for her to keep comfortable until that time came.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so it was, yeah, I just wanted to share that with all of you guys out there, because I know you're using the Healy, and it's always nice to get confirmation of what things are happening with other people too.
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely is. I'm just seeing here in the Zoom chat that Andrea has said, are we going to hear Christina doing light language, which I love. Which is funny because you did mention that actually, didn't you,
I did
before?
say
So
that. I
Andrea,
did
you must have
say, yeah, I did
tuned
say
in.
that, you know, when we close, I would close us out with the light language for
That's
sure.
amazing. And Nina's also written in here, is there more information on the light language? I got the vibrations. Is it beyond words? Thank you. So
Yeah, it's beyond words, for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and yeah, I've heard light language from my friend. She's an amazing Reiki healer master, and she works with light language, and it is absolutely amazing.
And there are all different types, you know, there are all different, lots and lots and lots of different dialogues, lots of different types, because there's lots of different places that we've come from. So
Definitely,
yeah,
definitely.
no, it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're coming towards the end, and I don't know whether or not, do you want to close out with the light language, or I wanted to just kind of explain what will be happening next week. What do you think? Should I do that first?
Do that first, and then
Okay.
I'll close this out with the light language.
All right. Perfect. So this is a new series that kind of just like blossomed yesterday, literally from using my abundance program on my Healy. I'd been feeling a little bit flat the last few days, and I realized I hadn't been using my Healy the last 2 days either. And I was like, oh, where's my Healy? So I got my Healy and I turned on the abundance frequencies, and this idea was born. I spoke to Christina briefly and I said, oh, do you want to come on tomorrow to talk about your sound journey? And then all of a sudden this idea arose, and I just created this event series, which is Healy Hangout Talks Sound and Frequency. So it's 6 weeks. And then I've been actually talking with an amazing, interesting man from Glastonbury, who some of you may have seen around if you're local. He does all the drumming in the tour, in the St. Michael's Tower on the tour, on really special occasions like full moon and so on and so on. And it is just super powerful. He's a German guy called Sven. He's got another name called K7, and he is very much into frequency. And I actually did a post about a month ago randomly in a group here, which was asking if anyone fancied coming to talk about frequency on the Healy Hangout. And he actually contacted me, and I know him anyway. And I was like, oh, and he told me a story that he's been recording his sound in the St. Michael's Tower. He's channeling sound through it, the sound of the earth, but through the heart chakra. So if those that know, Glastonbury is the heart chakra of the world, it's known to be. And the tour and St. Michael's Tower is really on a lot of ley lines. So it's a super magical place here. You'll know it when you arrive because the energies here are so powerful. And what he does is he channels the sound and he drums, and he's now been working with it and recording it and extracting the solfeggio frequencies from the drumming. And it's just super, super powerful. And so he's going to be on next week. So don't miss that on Wednesday. And we've also got Andrea, who's on the call now, and she's going to be talking the following week about her method, which is called soul tone, which is, I don't know if Andrea, you want to do a really quick, brief introduction about what you do, if you're still here. I think you're muted. I don't know if you want to talk about it.
Right. Right, in a nutshell, it's all about empowering you with your own voice. So each note relates to a star sign, a chakra, and a color. So I'm a Scorpio, my color is aqua blue, my note is G. So it's really important that you are strong in your birth note. So if you've had any trauma when you were born of any kind, then you would be missing that note, that frequency, if you like. It's like your soul frequency. So it's important to bring it back in. So I give you that note to tone to. So that's it in a nutshell, really, because you can do all of these things in EFT and what have you, but I found all through doing the voice work, nobody can actually bring it, that your sound through yourself. You have to bring it out. You're like a piano and you need all 12 notes to play your own beautiful tune. And nobody else, you know, so once you, each note relates to an emotional and a physical. So it's all about bringing the rest of you through to be truly who you've come to be and not who you think you are now.
Wow.
That's it.
Thank you. Going to be, 1 second, let me just mute you. There's a little bit of background noise there. Thank you for sharing that. So that's going to be week 3. So, and we've got some more amazing that I'm going to be sharing later. So I will be sending out a program of who will be joining us for the next 6 weeks. So yeah, I'm super excited. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We're now going to close the session with Christina, who's going to be doing some light language. And when we're done, I will just close the Zoom room. So thank you so much for joining, everyone, and let's all enjoy.
Shunura intike unte era kahana ea. Tora kana da ea nutuka kama era ka a. Sontenama kahana ka ea nutura kinia kutura. Ara ke ea nataka ahana kumuto taka intia kakana.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christina.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
We'll see everybody next week. Lots of love.
God bless everybody. Have a lovely week.
Bye-bye.